how you like it, yeah.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of the We Don't Know TV podcast. My name is Leaf. I will be your host. So last week we talked about That 70s Show, so I figured the best option was to watch That 90s Show. So before even going into it, I was looking for three things, right? So one, is it gonna have a theme song? Two, how are they gonna mix the old characters and the new characters? Like, are they gonna do that in a satisfying way? And then three, how are they gonna make this show stand out from the old show, right? So let's talk about the theme song. First off, That 90s Show, no theme song. And I get, like, you already have an iconic song, right, from the old show. So why do it again? Why make a new one? But I think not having one only puts this show in the That 70s Show shadow more. I think even if it was like, oh, like, you know, even if they had a song and it wasn't like, this isn't the old thing, it's like, no, this isn't the old thing, right? Let's start establishing something new. Because when you think of That 70s Show, you hear the song like hanging out, like that song, right? So I think they should have had something at least in the first episode to be like, hey, this is the same, but it's like, it's really not. When it comes to the balance between the old and the new characters, I think they did it pretty well. I do have some issues, which we'll get into, but I mean, it was pretty well. And then for the, what was the third thing? I already lost my train of. Does this show like kind of set itself apart from the other ones? Just like the characters, yes and no. I feel more no than yes. But again, I only watched the first episode, so I should probably say that from the top in case you're new here. I only watched the first episode of a show and then I talk about it. So if the season does get better, you know, good on it. I'm only talking about the first episode. That being said, right, first thing, I'm going to start in a weird place, right? But That 90s Show, That 70s Show has the little, like, intercuts, or, like, That 70s Show had the, I guess, commercial break, you know, where they're, like, dancing and there's, like, flowers and stuff in the middle, and then it goes into, like, the next scene. And so they did that again for this, which I thought was, like, all right, a cool touch. And I like this in That 90s Show, like the transitions or whatever you want to call them that they did in this more than I did That 70s Show. I just felt like That 70s Show was like, some of them were like cool and some of them were weird, where I felt like all of these ones fit for the show that they were making. So I like those ones there. Now, in terms of the characters, right, number two, it's nice to see the old characters and that they're older and we're older if you grew up with it, right? It's like, oh, okay, like, you know, we're all growing up together. So it's that nostalgic feeling of like, and I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this now have kids. So they kind of get like, oh man, like it really hits in that, like, the characters grew up with me, right? And then as we get into the new characters, I was like, okay, I really liked the best friend next door. My favorite was Ozzy, the Asian kid. And then the other characters, especially like the main girl, Leia, but more of like, not Leia per se, but more of the other characters when they came in, I felt like they're like, oh, let's just do the same like personality types again. And it's like, like I think you should have had maybe like small hints of something, like maybe some small hints of like the characters before, but like have these characters really stand out. That way it's like, hey, this is, you know, you had your characters and they'll pop up and they'll do cameos and all that good stuff. But these are new characters, all right? These are the kids. They're different. And I think that's why I liked the best friend and Ozzy so much. Is because, yeah, you can see like one's kind of like Hyde and one's kind of like, you know, Fez. But they're really not. Like I mean, I guess you can have more of an argument for the best friend. But I just felt like they were more set apart. And I almost got that with the new girl that is supposed to be essentially Jackie. She is like sort of kind of like sarcastic, but she is like, oh, the girlfriend to the guy who's kind of like, you know, like, oh, like a meathead. And I'm like, I like when she's sarcastic because it makes her feel like, oh, I could see like you wanted to do Jackie, but she's not Jackie, right? So I'm hoping that for people that watch the show more, that like I'm hoping that changes and it works better for these new characters. That way it's not like, oh, it's the same thing again. You know what I mean? The other thing being said is, what was it? The balance was the third thing? Or I start talking and everything just leaves me. I do like the balance again between the. Oh no, it was the third thing was making everyone stand out. So again, I didn't really feel like the new characters stood out enough for me to be like, oh, this show's gonna be like different enough from the old one. So I think that is the fear, because when you're doing these sequels years later, which Hollywood keeps doing, it's like, cool, you need to capture the feeling of the old thing and then do something new, right? All at the same time. So I hope that, during the rest of the season, it switches up a little bit. But for the most part, it felt pretty much the same. One thing that did stand out for sure was, so watching that 70 show, and I was talking about it last time, was the fact that it had a laugh track, which was a product of the time. It wasn't weird, right? But, if you grew up having sitcoms or whatever with laugh tracks, it's weird to go back and be like, oh yeah, that was the thing we used to do, right? So for them to commit to this 90 or that 90 show having a laugh track or like a studio audience type feel was weird, because I was like, I get I'm sure the main audience that they're going for is the old fans that come back and watch this, right? And I don't know analytics, I'm not seeing the numbers. I don't work for Netflix. But I imagine you want new people to come in. So I can only imagine, as I was watching this, like, what if, like, my siblings who are only teenagers, if they watch this, they might be like, what? Like, why are, like, who are these random people, right, in the background, like, laughing? And then I'd have to explain, like, oh, no, that's like a thing we used to do in shows where it was, like, live and blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was definitely a choice to have a laugh track. I was actually going in expecting to be like, oh, because I said last time on that 70 show, like, I wonder what the show would be like if it was just the jokes, no laugh track. So I was going in being like, okay, this is a modern show. We're going to have all the jokes, no laugh track. And then it had a laugh track. And I was like, oh, okay, we're committing to I guess it's more of a bit at this point. So I was like, that's a choice. That's a choice. I don't know. Because I grew up on that 70 show, it's not that I don't like it, but I do. Again, I wish I was like, I wish there was like a version like, hey, you can turn this off. You know what I mean? That being said, talking about the humor, the show is still funny. I think all the cast has, just like that first episode of that 70 show, everyone has little jokes here and there. Again, I think with the new kids, because they're trying to be, or they want them to be the old characters, some of the jokes are like, is this funny because it's funny, or is this funny because that's what an old character would say and now you're saying it? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's where some of the humor might fall flat. But I think returning cast is still doing their thing. Like, the jokes still land. And again, I think Ozzy is the standout in terms of humor. I can see him being like the snarky, straightforward, like, this is what I'm thinking and I'm just gonna say it. And I really like that. So I would say that, if I had to, I guess, get to because I don't want to ramble for too long, right? If I had to get to my ranking, right? So again, if you forgot or it's the first time here, I have kind of like a 3-point scale, I guess you would say. So 1 and done, right? Give it a chance, and then I'm in. So 1 and done, you watch the first episode, you're like, this ain't for me, right? Give it a chance is like, all right, I'll watch the next episode. And then I'm in is obviously like, I'm in, I'm going to watch this season. For me, after everything, for, still having a laugh track, still having, or not having a theme song, a decent balance of the characters, but not having enough of a set out between the new characters being different enough from the old characters, I would say that I would have to give this one, give it a chance. I was definitely like, all right, I'd watch more of this and kind of see where it goes. I did hear one conversation on a separate podcast. It was like a small conversation that they had, that they were saying like, oh, episode 3 is when it starts to like pick up its stride a little bit. But yeah, I would, out of the 3, I would say give it a chance, because I can definitely see myself checking out at least another episode and seeing like, hey, where's this season go? Where are the kids gonna be? And then kind of like, does it get better from here without losing itself in the shadow of the old show? It was really nice to see all the characters, or at least the characters that we got back. Eric and Donna still doing their thing. Jackie and Jackie and Kelso still doing their thing. More Kelso than Jackie, I would say. I feel like Mila Kunis didn't have that same Jackie feel. But again, I'm going off the episode I watched last time when she was like still a teenager. So maybe that's what it is. But it was still nice to see them. And then, at the end of the episode, it does the like, here's like everything on coming up for the season. You can see all the other references or all the other cameos that are going to pop up. Although I kind of wish they didn't have that. I wish it would have been like, you assume the other people are going to pop up, but it's more of like when. I think they should have left a little more mystery. But I understand they're probably like, hey, like you're here for like, nostalgia and new stuff. So here's like, these characters are coming back. Like, look, like keep watching. So yeah, if I, again, in summation, I would say I give it a chance out of the 3. I would watch another episode and kind of see where it goes. Again, I don't want to ramble for too long, so let me know what you think wherever you hear this. If there's a space to leave comments or whatever, I'm sure we're going to put this everywhere, but I got to figure it out. Anyways, I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. Have a good day. Peace.